The power of consistency. Have you ever wondered why some people achieve remarkable success while others, despite similar talents and opportunities, seem to fall short? What invisible force separates those who merely dream from those who transform their visions into reality? Today, we're exploring a principle so fundamental yet so frequently overlooked that it might just be the missing piece in your journey toward your greatest aspirations. Welcome to our exploration of the extraordinary power of consistency. Think about this for a moment. The Grand Canyon, one of nature's most breathtaking wonders, wasn't formed by a single cataclysmic event. It was carved over millions of years by the consistent flow of the Colorado River, water moving patiently, persistently, day after day, century after century. What seems impossible for a single drop becomes inevitable through consistency. Your life follows this same natural law. The person you are today is not the result of occasional grand gestures or sporadic bursts of effort. You are the product of the small actions you've performed consistently, day after day, whether consciously chosen or unconsciously adopted. Every thought you repeatedly think, every habit you maintain, every action you consistently take, these are the true architects of your reality. Consistency operates with quiet power because it harnesses the principle of compound interest. Not just in your financial investments, but in every area of life. When you commit to daily improvement, even by just 1%, the results compound over time. After a year of these tiny daily improvements, you're not just 365% better, you're 37 times better. This is the mathematics of consistency that few truly appreciate until they've experienced its effects firsthand. Consider the writer who commits to writing just 500 words every single day. In isolation, each day's work might seem insignificant, barely enough to fill 2 pages. Yet after a year, those daily 500 words have become a 182 500-word manuscript, the equivalent of 2 full-length novels. The marathon runner who adds just 10 seconds to their daily run eventually conquers distances that once seemed impossible. The entrepreneur who makes just 5 new connections each week builds a network of over 250 powerful relationships in a single year. But here's the challenge that stops so many of us from harnessing this power. Consistency isn't glamorous. It doesn't provide the immediate dopamine rush of overnight success stories or viral achievements. Consistency requires showing up on the days when inspiration has abandoned you, when no one is watching, when results seem distant or invisible. It demands faith in the process when the path ahead disappears into fog. This is precisely why consistency separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Anyone can work hard when motivated. Anyone can take action when the finish line is in sight. But those who achieve lasting success are those who continue taking action long after the initial excitement has faded, who understand that the unsexy middle part of any journey is where real transformation happens. Let me share something that might shift your perspective. We often think consistency requires superhuman willpower or extraordinary discipline, but the truth is much more liberating. Consistency flows naturally from identity, not force. When you shift from, "I want to write a book," to, "I am a writer," consistent writing becomes a natural expression of who you are, rather than something you force yourself to do. When you shift from, "I need to exercise more," to, "I am an active person," movement becomes a non-negotiable part of your day. This identity-based approach to consistency transforms the entire experience. Instead of depleting your willpower reserves through constant internal battles, you conserve that precious mental energy for the creative aspects of your work. The question shifts from, "Will I do this today?" to "How will I do this today?" The action itself becomes non-negotiable. Only the approach remains flexible. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't experience internal resistance or negotiation about whether to brush your teeth each day. You don't require motivation or inspiration. You simply do it because it's part of who you are and how you care for yourself. This is the level of automaticity that consistency can reach when aligned with your identity. Now, let's address the most common obstacle to consistency: the belief that our efforts aren't producing results quickly enough. In our instant gratification culture, we've lost the patience required for meaningful achievement. We plant seeds on Monday and dig them up on Friday when they haven't sprouted. We exercise for 2 weeks and abandon our efforts when our bodies haven't transformed. We write for a month and give up when literary acclaim hasn't arrived. But remember the bamboo farmer who plants his seeds and sees no visible growth for 4 years while watering and nurturing the soil daily. Then, in the 5th year, the bamboo suddenly grows 90 feet in just 6 weeks. Was the bamboo growing only during those 6 weeks? Or was the invisible root system developing during those seemingly fruitless 4 years of consistent care? Your efforts function the same way. Results often emerge following a non-linear pattern. You may work consistently for months with minimal visible progress, then suddenly experience breakthrough moments that appear to happen overnight to outside observers. These overnight successes are almost always the result of long periods of invisible, consistent action. What makes consistency even more powerful is its compounding effect on multiple areas of your life simultaneously. When you commit to consistency in your health routine, that energy and discipline spill over into your work. When you maintain consistency in learning, those insights enhance your relationships. When you develop consistency in mindfulness practices, that presence improves your creativity. Consistency in one area creates a positive spiral that elevates every aspect of your life. Let me offer some practical wisdom for developing this transformative power in your own life. First, start smaller than you think necessary. Our tendency to begin with ambitious, unsustainable actions often sabotages consistency before it can take root. If you want to write consistently, don't start with a commitment to write 3 hours daily. Begin with 20 minutes. If you want to transform your fitness, don't begin with 2-hour gym sessions. Start with 10 minutes of movement. The goal isn't immediate impressive results. It's establishing the neural pathway of showing up reliably. Second, create environments that make consistency almost inevitable. Your willpower is finite, and fighting your environment depletes this precious resource unnecessarily. If you want to read consistently, keep books visible and accessible in every room, while making your phone less convenient to access. If you want to eat healthier consistently, stock your kitchen with nutritious options and create friction around less supportive choices. Your environment will either facilitate or sabotage your consistency efforts. Third, develop consistency rituals that remove decision fatigue. Decision-making depletes your mental energy rapidly. By establishing specific times, places, and triggers for your most important actions, you transition from deciding whether to do something to simply executing a predetermined plan. The writer who sits at the same desk at 6 a.m. every morning with the same beverage doesn't waste energy deciding whether today is a writing day. The ritual has already answered that question. Fourth, measure your consistency streaks, not just your outcomes. When you track the days you've maintained your commitment, you develop a powerful psychological momentum that becomes increasingly difficult to break. After maintaining a 30-day meditation streak, the thought of breaking the chain becomes more painful than completing the practice even on difficult days. Apps and simple calendar systems can powerfully reinforce this psychological principle. Fifth, embrace the profound power of consistency in recovery. Consistency isn't just about continuous forward movement. It includes how you respond when you inevitably stumble. The most successful people are distinguished not by never failing, but by how quickly they return to their consistent actions after interruptions. If you miss a day, immediately return to your practice the next day without self-punishment or allowing one missed day to become a permanent derailment. Consider how consistency transforms not just achievement but identity itself. When you show up day after day for your commitments, you develop unshakable self-trust. You become a person who keeps promises to yourself, creating a foundation of integrity that affects every aspect of life. This self-trust might be the most valuable reward of consistency, more precious even than the external results you're working toward. The power of consistency extends beyond individual achievement to your impact on others. When you demonstrate reliability in your commitments, you build trust at an accelerated rate. Relationships, professional and personal, flourish in the soil of consistent action. Teams perform better when they can predict each other's contributions. Children thrive when they experience consistent boundaries and affection. Business partnerships prosper when expectations are consistently met. Let me share a mental model that might help you embrace consistency even during difficult periods. Think of consistency as making regular deposits into an invisible account that will pay dividends at unexpected moments throughout your life. Some days, your deposits may feel meaningless or even painful. You might question whether they're making any difference at all. But these deposits accumulate silently, building equity in your future that will pay returns in ways you cannot yet imagine. As we approach the conclusion of our exploration, I invite you to reflect on an area of your life where inconsistency has prevented you from experiencing the results you desire. What small, sustainable action could you commit to performing with absolute consistency? Remember, the size of the action matters far less than the reliability of its execution. A small step taken consistently will carry you further than occasional giant leaps. The most profound truth about consistency is that it doesn't just change your results, it transforms you in the process. The person who writes consistently doesn't just produce a book, they become a writer. The person who exercises consistently doesn't just improve their fitness, they become an athlete. The person who meditates consistently doesn't just reduce stress, they become more present. Through consistency, you don't just achieve goals, you undergo a metamorphosis. So as you leave this conversation, I challenge you to identify one area where you'll implement the power of consistency starting today. Not tomorrow, not when circumstances are perfect, not when you feel more motivated, but today. Choose an action so small that it would seem ridiculous to skip it. Then perform that action daily until it becomes as automatic as breathing. Remember the words often attributed to Aristotle. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Your life is being shaped not by your occasional bursts of brilliance or discipline, but by the small actions you perform consistently. When you harness the extraordinary power of consistency, you don't just change what you achieve, you transform who you become. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of consistency's transformative power. I hope you'll carry these insights forward as you build your own legacy of consistent action. Remember, the greatest achievements in human history didn't come from sporadic genius, but from ordinary commitment applied with extraordinary consistency. Now go forward and let your consistent actions write the next chapter of your story.